Hi, this is W0TM Woodham. Have you seen these? Question mark. Part 2. Have you seen these? Question mark. Part 2. When I did part 1, I'll go back. I'm still working on comments. Thank you very much for all the comments. They're just more than I can handle. I've had relapses of this, and I've been in bed most of the time. Um, these are ones I really should have showed you instead of the ones that I did. The ones I did were the ones that were the behemoths, the one out of every 100,000 that have a pituitary gland problem and became unbelievably large. They're ones that I grew by putting in water. These are ones that I find everywhere. A lot of them on me. I have probably pulled out with tweezers. You can see the size of dimension. Tweezers. 10,000 of these things off my body over the last year and a half. Blood, it's not a pretty sight, and it doesn't feel good. These things have artificial life, intelligent life, I don't know which. These, I think, are all dead. They've been dead for a while. But they usually, and every one you see, there's another 1,000 that you need a microscope. I've got a microscope, several of them, that you can see. Another 1,000 of them. I mean, they coat everything. You see up at the top, you see one that's black. That is a Morgellons, an actual Morgellons fiber, but it's like 500 of them. I have taken tweezers or actually nano microelectronic tools and unfurled fibers that were too small for me to see that had balled up using a microscope, and it turned out to be just a plain fiber. Polymer silicon fiber, hollow, nano battery, all the stuff you've heard these things are made of. I have relatively thick skin, and right now I'm going to bring the microphone closer back to me. You can just turn off the video because I don't know what it's going to show. The microphone is included in the camera, so to be able to make sure you hear me, I'll try to give you a view of something. Not much. Um, anyway, as I was saying, in case you didn't hear, some people have said they couldn't hear because the microphone was too far away. Now it's not. It's probably too loud. Have you seen these? Part 2. Those are the ones that I should have shown in part 1. Those are still vastly oversized, but those are ones you can spot by just looking on dark carpet. Particularly, you go into any store, almost any store, that has these rubber and felt mats you rub your feet on. And there'll be white spots. You pick them up, and they look like what I just showed you. And if they're really bright white, they might even jump, meaning that they're still alive, artificial life, or intelligent life, one or the other. If it's actual life, the evil people that make these things, if they make actual life and insert it in these things that they have dropped on America by the quadrillions, that's another amazing story, which is worthy of a video, but I have no idea what they did, so I can't do a video. They do things like, they have odd habits. They love to pull on string. They'll break hems, tear apart, put holes in socks. But mostly they'll get on your body and cause, I'll move the camera again, cause skin to look like this. If I peeled any of these off, you'd see blood on the top and these little white things on the bottom. And the white things would not be disturbed at all. They're able to get on the skin, get under the skin, and sometimes some of them drill further down, bring blood up, put blood on top of them. But there's many on my hand right now that I could pull off that you see as a little bit whiter than my regular skin color. And I can't pull them off fast enough. I do it now every few days, but it's a losing battle because they seem to multiply every couple of days. I apologize again for the terrible view and probably the cracking of the microphone, but I hope you get the substance of what I'm saying. There are it appears there are 4 types of fibers, Morgellon fibers, from the very smallest one that looks like pulled cotton, but even much finer than cotton, snow white. The next size up are, I believe, the ones that they intend are trying to saturate human bodies, animal bodies with, that are partially metallic, partially magnetic. They claim on several videos that they include nano batteries that are rechargeable from 60 hertz that is emanating from your wall sockets. And I believe that as an electrical engineer. 60 hertz does not totally stay within the wires. Some of it does emanate out. They recharge those hairs, fibers, whatever you want to call them. They are fibers. They're man-made. They're polymer and silicon and a few other substances. People that are chemists, I guess, that have gotten into them and have figured out what they're made of, and also had access to electron beam microscopes that magnify like 5 million times, and they have showed etched markings on the side of some of these fibers with names of companies. One of them even had an etched NASA. If you go to the website of a lady by the name, her last name is Gesture, Gesture. She has an excellent YouTube site with many videos. I consider her to be one of the most informed people on Morgellons in the world, and she has dozens of videos with these microscopic images. What I'm wondering about, and what I would like to know, and I really appreciate all the various comments about, you know, I cured my Morgellons with onions and grapefruit juice and so on and so forth. I really appreciate that. I've heard about everything there could possibly be, and I've tried almost everything, or just asking me questions or whatever. If you have any of those, instead, why don't you send me an email? It's my first initial, last name, GYANTIS @gmail.com, and confine your comments on this to if you actually have seen what I just showed you sitting on the floor. I can walk around a restaurant on the carpet and I can pick up hundreds of them, but nobody notices them because they're just little tiny white things. If I bring it to someone's attention, they'll say, oh, we had a new janitor and he just didn't pick up some, you know, it's a piece of paper. Well, it doesn't dissolve in water. And they say, oh, it's a piece of plastic. Well, I can pick it up and wad it up. You can't wad up hard plastic. They can reshape themselves, and I've seen it happen, much like certain sea animals. Like there's a squid that can, as you if you're into that, have seen them change their color to their surroundings, and as big as they are, they can fit through a keyhole if they want to. It's the same way with these. They can sit on your skin flat, so flat that when I pick them up, if I spot it, which is hard, I can look through them almost like looking through glass. But the same ones can take themselves, if they're still alive, wad themselves up, go into the shape of a newspaper if that's what they want. They can do things that you probably wouldn't believe, but I'll show you. This is a leather house shoe. You can see they will paint things white. They will they love to eat leather. I have to keep leather shoes and so forth in boxes, otherwise they're gone. You can see they love to pull on, well, you can't see it in this video, it looks like. Well, there it is, a hair, or actually a string. They're pulling on that. They're pulling on all these right now, if you can see it. No, you probably can't. But anyway, you know, they'll paint things white, they'll rip into leather, chew it up. Skin is pretty close to leather, but for whatever reason, they only go after people that have a certain strain of well, I forgot the word all of a sudden. A Lyme disease. I'm sorry, I apologize. As you know, this disease gives you mental blocks temporarily on words. Lyme disease, what that strain is and why it happens, I don't know. But from doing surveys, it appears right now it's about 1 in every 10,000 people. That's not many. So that means that's when you go into a hospital or doctor and they blow you off. Never go to a doctor. Never go to a hospital. You'll get thrown into a padded room. Worst case, because they won't believe you. Best case, they'll laugh you off and charge you $1,200 and totally exasperate you because you are in terrible pain, terrible agony, and they won't do a thing. They give you some cream, or they give you a prescription that is worthless. You have to take your things in your own hands. And I'm going to be doing another video on ways to alleviate at least part of what's going on. But Morgellons is a 3-part disease. It's not a disease because it's man-made and they put it on you, so it's a syndrome. There are the fibers that you breathe in. And I'll turn the camera up like this. Give you a picture of something. The fibers that everyone is breathing in. Your body, if you have Morgellons, you know you have Morgellons, and you're sure of it, because some people that have written me in turn, they didn't have Morgellons. They had things like parasites and other things. And I pointed them to Parasite Clear, available on Amazon, to get rid of the parasites because other things were coming out of the body, like pinworms and so forth. But it wasn't Lyme disease, it wasn't Morgellons. But if you have Morgellons, you're breathing in these fibers. There's the larger hairs, and I showed you some of them a moment ago. I'll take the chance moving the camera one more time to go back and show these, because intermixed in all of this are a few hairs. Bring it up closer. See if you can see any of those hairs are fibers. Those are almost the size of a human hair or fiber. Some of them are connected to these little white creature monsters. They're too large to breathe in. They just kind of, get on your clothes and brush them off all the time. They are attracted to you because they are Morgellons. Other people really probably don't see them very much, if at all. We have to brush them off our clothes, people that have Morgellons. But they don't hurt you. The next level down are smaller versions that are usually half-moon shape, and I believe some of them are small enough that you probably can breathe them in, and they probably do turn into fibers that cause you problems internally. Next level down are the monsters, are the little tiny jet black ones that, as I say, when they hit, they try to get out of your body. And if you do something like take a good brand of colloidal silver, they panic and try to get out faster. When they hit the top level of your skin, which is thicker than the rest of your skin, they can't get through it. They push and push and push. If your skin is really soft, they'll push on through. Those are the people that report, no, I don't have balled up things like that. I just have hairs growing out of my skin. Well, they're not growing, they're not hairs, they're fibers, and they're pushing on through. And you may be lucky enough that they'll push on through and you'll never even know it. That would be wonderful. And perhaps some of you are experiencing that. I hope so. But for most people, the top layer of their skin is thick enough that some of them don't get through, and they keep pushing, and just like a string pushing on something, whatever, it's not going to make it through, so it balls up, and then more fibers come along, they ball up, and you get to the point, I showed you one that I pulled off of my skin that has probably, it's really tiny, but has probably like 500 black fibers in them. Those black fibers are what these people doing it are wanting to saturate human and animal bodies with, because they're partially metallic. And if I had said this a year ago, I would have put myself into a padded room, and it sounds so crazy. But with facilities like HARP and so forth, and the fact that in the 60s I was involved in the MK Ultra project by accident, and I'm very sorry about that. I was also involved in ELF, extra low frequency, 0.1 hertz to 30 hertz. I was involved in sending signals through the ground, great distances, thousands of miles, learning that they would get into the minds of people and animals and plants and everything else. Nikola Tesla, who I've been a student of all my life, if those of you that have watched me more than once, said that the radio band of nature is the ELF band, 0.1 hertz to 30 hertz. Every single living organism in the universe has its own unique frequency and modulation. You think that's impossible or couldn't be enough. Well, there's an infinite number of possibilities if you add modulation to frequency. Modulation can be a sine wave, a sawtooth, whatever, changing the signal. For instance, the resonant frequency of the planet Earth, which they asked me to figure out, which worried me greatly when they asked me that, 7.85 hertz. Earthquakes typically put out, when they occur, 2.5 hertz. Mankind, as you have probably now figured out, learned to control weather decades ago. They can make earthquakes. They can cause floods. Mankind can fight wars, which is going on right now, in fact, in several areas of the world. They can fight wars with weather. They can cause mass changes in society, such as the long-term drought going on in the western part of the United States by a huge high-pressure zone held off the west coast that is keeping rains from California and Colorado and so forth. When they do let them through, they let them through over like a one-day period and cause mudslides and all kinds of, houses sliding into the sea and terrible things like that. Those are weather wars. Those are going to get worse. There are 3 of them right now approaching the East Coast. Every one of those is man-made. I watched them happen. They're getting worse, and they're now being steered to exactly where they want them to go. The United States is not the only country that has the ability for weather wars. China, Russia, there's 3 or 4 other countries, Great Britain, they all have that knowledge now. They have some of the Tesla knowledge, but thank heavens they don't have all of it. If they did, we'd be in big trouble. Let me end this video because I don't want to make it too long. I'm going to do another video more on Morgellons of ways to alleviate, or to make you feel better. But as I say, the one that I just can't get past are these darn little, you can call them white bugs, white creatures that are just laying around everywhere, but they get on your skin and they're so light, they're 1% heavier than the weight of air, so you never feel them. And they will lay on your skin for days to weeks before they decide to go in, or you can go across your skin and find hundreds of them that are too small to make it past just attaching to the skin, or even smaller, just laying there. As I say, 99% of them are too small to see without the aid of a microscope. I would ask, I almost beg you, because I still have enough information. I have heard from people from the East Coast and the West Coast that are being plagued by these little white, call them creatures for now, that they say are everywhere. Personally, I have them in my ears. They're starting to affect my eyes. I pull them out of my nose every day. They're on my face, they're on my scalp, arms, legs. I consider them to be worse than the Morgellon fibers that serve at whoever's doing this, and we know who's doing it. Long term intends to make a human body a very good antenna. It needs to be much more metallic. If you go to the website www.2045, that's a year, 2045. That's their target year, 2045.com. you will learn all about it. They're not hiding it. The other thing is control. Once these little white, the tiny ones, get inside of you, there was a 1972 law passed through Congress where Congress had no idea what nanotechnology was, allowing nanotechnology to go on if it didn't hurt anyone, plants, ground, The law is very specific. Well, they're obviously hurting people, which is why the CDC had an insurance company, Kaiser Permanente, fake up a false hoax report calling Morgellons delusional parasitosis, which they did with Lyme disease and AIDS before that, so that the insurance companies could save billions of dollars denying insurance claims of a real disease. But quite frankly, right now, doctors know nothing about Morgellons, so they can't treat it anyway. But for the CDC, I've got the names of doctors who are taking bribes from insurance companies. Who do you take that to? The Department of Justice is more, in my opinion, more corrupt than is the CDC and other government agencies. So you're stuck, or at least I'm stuck. The people have Morgellons right now. We are so few, we're on our own. But the three areas of Morgellons, the tiny black hairs that try to get to the surface and get out of your body and cause you distress, the very tiny, which I didn't mention, bacteria that seems to coat everything and eats off furniture and just does long-term damage to everything, coats everything, is also related to Morgellons, also resonant at 60 hertz, so forth, but it's so small I don't have a microscope that'll measure it. And as I say, there's these little white things. Those are the three parts of Morgellons that I'm aware of. I would really like to hear from people that are finding these little white things everywhere they go. Restaurants, businesses, offices, their own home, any dark surface, you're going to find them. If you have dark clothes on, you're going to find them. You're going to find them in your skin. So please comment on that. If you have other comments to make, send me an email instead. I'd like to just get comments on this one question. Have you seen these? With that, I'm going to end. I really appreciate, again, the subscribers, everyone that's watching. Thank you very much, and I hope this has been useful to you. And there's my dog, Blaze, who, by the way, does suffer from Morgellons off and on, but I've had him on medication again this week. He gets over it very quickly, and he's a good, lively dog again compared to last week. Anyway, take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.